Now, Donald Trump's visit to Mexico today certainly put the southern border front and center in terms of the news flow. But, you know, strengthening all of our borders is certainly critical to our national security and, importantly, our fight against terrorism. With me right now, Dr. Zuhdi, the president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, and Dr. Sebastion Gorka, one of the foremost experts on terror and author of the best-selling book, Defeating Jihad. Good to have both of you guys here. A lot to talk about. Dr. Gorka, I'm going to start with you. I mean, we know that terrorists are trying to get into our country via this porous Mexican border. Is that just one more reason why we need to be so much more vigilant and so much more careful?
Absolutely, Trish. Everybody associates Judicial Watch with their incredible work on the Hillary Gate, the Servergate scandal. What they've also done is they've documented, Chris Farrell especially, how the rat runs in the South, the coyote runs, are being used by jihadi terrorists. So where there are people moving across the border illicitly, where drugs, where weapons are being smuggled across, that is something that will be exploited by terrorists. And borders are part of national security. So on this issue, Mr. Trump is absolutely right.
You know, this is something, Dr. Jasser, that I don't think a lot of people are that familiar with, but I've done a lot of reporting in Latin America and in South America, specifically on one region down there known as the tri-border area, where Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina meet. A pretty much lawless zone where you have a lot of immigrants that came there from the Middle East back in the 1970s. And the thought is that this is really a hotbed for extremism. In fact, it is said to be the biggest source of funding for Hezbollah outside of Iran. So knowing that there are extremists down there that would like to find their way back up into the United States, what do we need to be thinking about? What do we need to be doing to make sure we keep these people out?
Well, we need a coherent policy, Trish. We need one that doesn't compartmentalize the immigration issue on one side and national security on the other. America is not just a landmass, Trish. It is an idea. The reason radical Islamists, whether it be the Shia of Hezbollah or the Sunni of ISIS and Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas, want to come here is not just because they love the parks. They want to come here because the American idea of freedom and liberty is the greatest threat to political Islam and theocracy on the planet. So part of national sovereignty is the protection of our borders, and by doing that, it's the best counter to radical Islam, because then it empowers Muslims like myself and conservatives like my parents and grandparents who came to America because they saw it as that idea that could defeat political Islam and the threat that was destroying the Middle East. So a coherent, unifying policy of national security would also unify our immigration and border policy.